Am I really suggesting you go read a 500,000 plus word fanfiction that has not been updated since 2017? Why, yes! Yes, I am! So, what is Sansuk? Basically, it is the story of Thorin Oakenshield as he and his family and friends watch the events of the War of the Ring unfold from the Dwarven afterlife. It takes aspects from both the books and the movies, as well as drawing in lore from all over the rest of the Tolkien legendarium, and sprinkling in a healthy dose of headcanons, and the result is a gorgeous and seamlessly blended absolute mammoth of a work. Or should I say Oliphant? First things first, though, its main pairings are Baggenshield and Gigolas, so if either of those is a deal breaker, just click off this video right now. Sansuk starts right after the end of The Hobbit. Thorin, Fili, and Kili are dead. They've entered the halls of Mahal, and find that there is a way there for them to watch the world of the living. Watch it, but not reach it. Save for Thorin. To Thorin, Mahal gives a gift. The living may hear him, as a whisper below their conscious thoughts. It is not always certain that they will, and some hear him better than others, but he has this power. And who hears him best? Gimli, his young cousin, Gloin's son. That's the basic premise and our starting point. Now, any of you who have read this fic and know me personally enough to have listened to me scream into the void at Peter Jackson or were following me on Twitter while I was rewatching the movies recently will no doubt have some questions. But Van, Sansuk follows the movies at several points that you have complained about before. Why do you forgive Sansuk in this when you don't forgive the movies? Simple, my friend. Very simple. Determanfid, the author of Sansuk, who I will for simplicity's sake be calling Dets for the rest of this video, did it better. Also, just because the movies did some things I don't like, don't even begin to think I hate them. I have said this before, I will say it again, I will love these movies until the day I die. They mean so fucking much to me, I grew up with them just as much as I grew up with the books. So, what are the things Sansuk and the Lotter movies have in common that I disliked in the movies but am either neutral to or actually like in Sansuk? Well, let's see. Some general Gimli stuff, that's honestly really minor. Aragorn's I don't want to be king shit. Arwen's sickness, and the elves being at Helm's Deep. I think that's about it. That feels like about it. We can squirrel away all Gimli points immediately by saying that anything the movies did with Gimli that is reflected in Sansuk is made better because Dets treats his character with the respect and honor he fucking deserves. Also, Dets doesn't gloss over the elves' racism towards dwarves, so that helps. Moving on to the points that need some actual clarification. Arwen's sickness is specified to be caused by her love for Aragorn, in combination with her using much of her power to help and protect him even when he's half the world away. Like, that much was implied in the movies, but we don't really ever get confirmation of it. Anyway, she exhausts herself and thus weakens herself against the growing shadow of Mordor, and ties her fate to that of the ring, which is something that could have happened to any elf. It just happened to happen to her. We're not left with the impression that this is happening because everything was just too much for her poor feminine constitution. And the thing Dets doesn't do, set her right at the edge of fridge territory without ever actually pushing her in like Peter Jackson did. Because in Sansuk, Aragorn was already very clearly planning on taking on his destiny and reclaiming the throne of Gondor, even before the, hey, Arwen is dying, FYI, just thought you should know, also here's Anduril, moment with Elrond. which we actually don't even get to personally see in Sansuk because our dead dwarf watchers had other more important things to do than hang around Aragorn while he slept. Aragorn not wanting to be king is also handled better. He never rejects Minas Tirith or the people of Gondor in Sansuk. He cares for and loves them and clearly views them as his people, even while he's still hesitating and afraid. He longs for Minas Tirith, even while he's still hesitating, and that honestly makes his character so much more sympathetic. As previously mentioned, Anduril is still reforged at the same point as it was in the movies, but everyone around Aragorn being aware of who he is, even without the legendary sword at his side, is also handled so much better. It's explained as being because he's starting to carry himself too much as the king he was born to be. He cannot hide behind the ranger any longer. People are starting to notice. They either know or sense who he is, even without Anduril at his side. And it really doesn't hurt that in Sansuk, even though he feels massively guilty about the fact that Arwen will die, because she would stay with him and choose mortality, he still acknowledges that it is her choice, and he cannot change it, nor should he attempt to. And finally, the elves at Helm's Deep. Detz actually managed to get me to like that particular change. I know, right? Will wonders never cease? Now, how on earth did she do that? Simple. She gave them being there a narrative purpose beyond just, I don't know, Peter Jackson thought it would be cool, I guess. The elves are at Helm's Deep, so Thorin can experience a tiny bit of character growth through realization. Remember Haldir's death? That utterly pointless added death that did nothing in the grand scheme of things in the movies? In Sansuk, Thorin is there. He witnesses Haldir cut down, and he is shocked. Shocked that an elf, an immortal, would be cut down so easily. He sees Haldir die, and he realizes that elves, for all that they are immortal, are fragile. A blow like that would not have felled a dwarf, and yet here this elf, who has been alive for who knows how long, falls to it, and it shocks Thorin to see. Which then further spurs his character growth in regards to his attitude to elves that is going on through the entirety of this wonderful fic. Honestly, there is only one change from the books that she kept that I dislike, and it's such a petty, tiny thing that it honestly feels entirely inconsequential when compared to the rest of the fucking mithril vein of a work that is Sansuk. But in the interest of fairness, I will mention it. Her keeping the confrontation with Saruman so that Saruman is on top of Orthanc. By doing that, we lose all the ambiguity which was found in the books when Grima dropped the Palantir, because there's no way he could have been aiming for Saruman. But, as I said, that is such a tiny nitpicky complaint to have here. Also, Detz managed to get me to accept and even like the fact that Gimli is left out of the lament for Boromir, because she makes such laments out to be an elvish custom, and lets Gimli grieve in his own way, and uses it as an opportunity to deepen the growing bond between Legolas and Gimli. So, fucking brilliant work right there. Now, let's get into the meat of it. Why should you read Sansuk? Because it's a fucking literary masterpiece. Also because it expands on dwarven culture, puts actual characters behind the names in the Book of Mazarbul, gives us several new characters that make sense in the story, shows us what was happening in Erebor Dale and the Greenwood while the War of the Ring was going on, and is a story about guilt and trauma and learning to forgive yourself and working through your problems. It's also very much a story about family. I cannot stress enough how important family is to the central narrative here. I fucking adore Thorin's relationship with Frerin and Fili and Kili and his mother Fris and his father and grandfather and Dain and just... The family is good in this one, okay? Okay. Detz also makes a point of fixing the, very racist stuff with the men of Harad and Rune to the best of her ability by taking that line by Faramir. Remember the one?
You wonder what his name is? Where he came from? If he was really evil at heart? What lies or threats led him on this long march from home? If he'd not rather have stayed there. In peace.
Yeah, she took that and fucking ran with it, and I appreciate that so very much. Also, she does other stuff to give the lands of Rune and Harad more character than just enemies come from here. But that would be getting into spoiler territory, so I'm not gonna say more on that. She also delves further into the history between dwarves and elves and makes sure we understand that elves are not the perfect paragons of virtue that the movies would have us believe they are. And she pulls so much from so many places. There is so much fucking lore in this fic. References are made to the Valar. Mahal actually speaks on several occasions, as does Nienna at least once, and Irmo too, if memory serves. There's discussion of Dagor Dagorath, and the world that will come after, and that the wizards were once Maiar. And Thorin's slow and non-linear recovery is just fucking writing goals right there. Oh, and did I mention she's written songs for this fic? Because she has, and at least 2 of them, utterly fucking destroyed me. And she's explained why Dis couldn't inherit the throne without it being because sexism, or making Dain a villain. Also, Legolas gets to be the younger brother he so clearly is to anyone who has ever met a younger sibling ever in their entire lives. So that's cool. I would, of course, be utterly remiss if I made a video on Sunsuk and didn't mention the absolutely goddamn bonkers amazing community that surrounds it. There is fan art. Hell, there's fan fiction. Some of which I have written myself, I will admit. The people who love this fic are so fucking dedicated, and it's honestly amazing to see. Actually, funnily enough, when I was almost done with the script for this video and had reached, chapter 40 of my Sunsuk reread, I actually started seeing Sunsuk stuff pop up on my dash again, largely because of this lovely short comic by Fish Fingers and Scarves, based on a scene from the early chapters of the fic. And that's not all. If you go into the comments on the fic itself, you will find a lot of people there saying they've come back for a reread. And recently. I'm not talking early 2018, I'm talking as recently as the 20th of August this year. People care about this fic, enough that it does not matter that it currently stands unfinished. They can and they will reread what there is of it, all 500,000 plus words of it, because it's just that good. Honestly, just go read it. The emotions and the writing and the characters are all so fucking stellar, I cannot begin to recommend it highly enough. Thanks for watching this video, and I hope you stick around.